Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hua, and today we are going to do the different types of reaction lab. So I've got a total of 5 different chemical reactions that I'm going to show you, and it's up to you to balance those equations and figure out what type of reaction those are. Alright, we'll start off with part A by looking at a piece of magnesium ribbon. So just take a good observations here of this magnesium ribbon. It's sitting on what we call a watch glass. Try to focus it for you so you can see that piece of metal there. There you go. All right, so I'm going to combine this with oxygen in a second. Notice how it's not reacting with the air right now, so it's going to need a little help. All right, to get this reaction going, we are going to need to add a little heat, so that will allow the magnesium to react with the oxygen. All right, so I'm going to use my Bunsen burner here to get this reaction going. Okay, take a good look at what's left. We see we have this kind of white powdery stuff left, and that would be your magnesium oxide here. All right, moving on to part B, we are going to combine copper carbonate with some acid, okay? And we should get some carbon dioxide as a result of this reaction. So I've got my copper carbonate in a test tube here, and I'm gonna add some of that acid. Here we go. Pretty neat reaction. So now we want to test to see if there's carbon dioxide in there. So how do we do that? So we are actually going to light a stick here, and if I put a burnt stick in there, the flame should go out. So if the flame goes out, that tells me that there is indeed carbon dioxide there. Just like how you would blow out a candle with your breath, if this flame goes out, that means there's carbon dioxide. So let's try it out. All right, so the stick is on fire. And once I put it in there, flame goes out. Okay, so let's see that again. Flaming stick, stick it in the test tube, and the flame goes out. Okay, so what that tells me is that there's indeed carbon dioxide in the test tube. And if we look closely, we can kind of see the gas kind of sinking down. Pretty cool effect here. And that's part B, so that's our second reaction there. All right, in part C here, we are going to take some zinc, so get a good look at the zinc, and we are gonna combine it with that same acid, that 6 molar hydrochloric acid. Again, this is some really strong acid here, so I've got some of that acid in a test tube already. In a moment, I'm gonna add the zinc to that test tube, and then using this other test tube you see here, I am going to collect hydrogen gas. So I'm gonna do that by inverting this test tube on top of it and collecting gas in the upper test tube. Then we're gonna check to see if there is indeed hydrogen gas by igniting that hydrogen gas over a Bunsen burner. All right, so I'm gonna perform this reaction here, zinc reacting with hydrochloric acid. And again, we should see this product being formed, hydrogen gas. And so that's what I'm gonna collect in my tube here. So here's the zinc metal. I'm gonna add it to my acid, and I'm gonna go ahead and collect the hydrogen gas being formed. So I'm gonna do that by placing this test tube over the other test tube. And so what's happening is the hydrogen gas here is being formed. As it's being formed, because it's a gas that's less dense, it's rising to the top. And so when it rises, it's gonna go straight into this test tube. And in about 3 minutes, I'll have collected enough gas where we can test it by igniting it over this Bunsen burner flame. Okay? So be patient and I'll speed up this video. All right, that should be enough gas. So let's see if I produce some hydrogen gas. You should hear a loud popping noise. Woo! Let's go. All right. All right, for part D, we are looking at aluminum and copper chloride. So I've got some aluminum metal here. Make note of its appearance. And I put it in the test tube here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna submerge this aluminum foil with some of that copper chloride, and I just want you to make some observations, see what happens here. You may recognize this reaction. We have done it before. So go ahead and look closely there and see what do you think is forming on the aluminum. Okay, for a clue, you might want to look at the chemical reaction, and that'll give you a clue on what's forming on the aluminum foil there. Notice the reddish brown color. All right, for the last reaction here, part E, I am looking at two chemicals. So we're looking at potassium chromate, that's this yellow liquid here, and we're gonna combine that with some silver nitrate, which kind of has a silvery gray color to it. Okay, so we're gonna use what we call a well plate here to do that. And so a well plate is excellent for these small scale reactions. So I'm just gonna add a few drops of this yellow potassium chromate into one of the wells. And to that well, I am going to combine it with some silver nitrate. So as I add the silver nitrate, just make note of what happens to our solution here. Whoa. All right. So we can see it turns this crazy reddish color. And if you want to take a look at kind of a before and after, so here's what happens after that stuff settles. You can get a good look at the products here. So that's what we call a precipitate. Again, a precipitate is a solid formed from two chemical solutions. There you have it. This is our last and final part, part E here.